Hello friends and welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. I am your host Tom Downey. Let's dive into some Cowboys rumors, and first up, one of the big things everyone's talking about, what the hell's going on with Terrance Williams? Is he going to be out again this week? I'll give it 2 stars because right now this whole situation is a mess. First off, Williams misses some practices late last week, doesn't come to the game in week 4. The Cowboys and Williams, though, were on the same page. And Garrett had all this week and even last week cited off-the-field stuff for Terrance Williams. Now today, Garrett says, oh, he's dealing with a foot injury. Well, which one is it? Is it both? What is going on with Terrance Williams? This is a guy that never misses games and never misses practice. He always plays through whatever problem he has. Now he's missing them all together. He returned this week, missed some practice again, then was working on the side as well this week. The absence is not reportedly connected to his offseason arrest, but he's gone from wide receiver 2 on this Cowboys team, in terms of outside guys, to the absolute bench. So what should Dallas do with T-Will? Type K for keep, type D for dump. I would love to trade him. I don't know what NFL team wants Terrance Williams. You save no money by cutting him. Even with the suspension, all you would save is the games that he was suspended for in terms of salary. I guess you're just going to keep him on your bench for the rest of the year, but at a certain point, it's like, why even bother have this guy on the roster? Yeah, you're not going to save any money, but we're getting to the point where you might as well bring up somebody else, have somebody else on this roster, because T-Will just isn't contributing at all right now. As I mentioned, folks, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Sign up today at chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Cowboys120 for a 120% deposit bonus. Put down $100, they'll give you $120 for free for a grand total of $220 to bet with on BetDSI if you use promo code Cowboys120. All right, more receivers. Is Dez Bryant not going to come back to the Dallas Cowboys? If you ask some of the Cowboys beat writers, this is really 4 stars. I'll give it 3 for now. Ed Warner, Clarence Hill, and then David Moore, the Dallas Morning News, all said there's no chance it's going to happen. But I think that Dez Bryant showing interest for the first time with that tweet that he had earlier this week makes it at least a slight chance. And it is kind of saying there's a chance. We're kind of in that realm of possibility of like maybe a 2% chance. I would be surprised if it went down. I think it's more likely than what it was a week or 2 weeks ago, but it's still not very likely at all. The team isn't really considering the possibility, and here's the big reason why. When you get divorced, typically you don't go back and remarry your ex-wife or husband. That just typically doesn't end well for either party involved. So I think the Cowboys need a Dez Bryant type at receiver. I think that you could find a role for Dez Bryant if he's willing to take a smaller one and take less money, of course. But I don't know if the Cowboys front office and coaching staff wants Dez Bryant in that locker room at all right now. So I don't think it'll happen. I'll say there's a very minimal chance, but I would be surprised if it went down. Folks, trying to get to 5K subscribers on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Dallas Cowboys Report. Already passed the 3K mark. 5K is the next milestone. So if you like the Cowboys, you got to subscribe at youtube.com/Dallas Cowboys Report. All right, defense time. David Irving, is he in better shape? Well, good news on this front. It certainly does seem that way. I'll give this one 4 stars, because that's what Tyron Crawford says. That's what it looks like at practice. David Irving, remember, he had the offseason weight issues earlier this year. That's not the case right now. He's in great shape. Was actually down below 300, I believe. Tyron Crawford says he's in way better shape. And by the way, peak David Irving gives the Cowboys a deadly defensive line. Now, I don't think he's going to be peak David Irving in Week 5. I think that's just asking too much of a guy that's been away from actually playing football for half a year now. He missed the last half of last season too. So it's been a while for Irving. I'll temper the expectations, but it does seem like, yes, he's in good shape on that end. All right, more defensive line talk. Could DeMarcus Lawrence win Defensive Player of the Year? It's certainly a possibility. I'll give it 2 stars. And Lawrence has been fantastic so far this season. Leads the NFL in sacks. We can bring up his bio card as well later on. He's on pace for 22 this year. He should be among the frontrunners for the Defensive Player of the Year award. However, knowing the way that they vote, knowing the way that the voters evaluate, I still think it's probably going to be Khalil Mack who's from. But Tank's been great this year. 21 tackles is tied for the lead among defensive ends. 8 tackles for loss is second. And the 5.5 sacks actually leads the NFL behind a really, really good group here. Tank, of course, at number 1. J.J. Watt looks fantastic. Khalil Mack, who has been so dynamic for the Bears. Knowing the way that the voters operate, I think Mack is your front runner. But DeMarcus Lawrence should definitely be in that minimum top 5 discussion. He's been that good. Now, as I mentioned, Tank is on pace for 22. I doubt he gets there. He's not going to have 3 sacks every fourth game. That's just not how the NFL tends to work. But how many sacks will DeMarcus Lawrence have this season? I think he finishes around 15, and if so, you take that every single year because that is fantastic production. It's really among the best production. And by the way, it means Tank's going to get paid in a big, big way this offseason. Break open the checkbook for that man. He deserves it. All right, some fun ones now on our Cowboys Rumors Roundup. Are the Cowboys America's team? Well, this one's 4 stars. It's a no-brainer. Don't let anyone tell you guys otherwise. The Cowboys are still the most watched team in the NFL. Of the top 10 games so far this year, the Cowboys have 4 of them, and no team has more than 2 in the top 10. The Cowboys have the number 1 most watched game. That was Cowboys-Panthers at over 23 million people. Week 3 against the Seahawks is number 2 with 22.2 million. The Cowboys-Giants primetime game is number 5. And Dallas versus Detroit, which wasn't even a national game, checked in at number 9 with 18 million people. Look, you become America's team when you're the most watched team, when you're the most loved, and when you're also the most hated. That sums up the Cowboys to a T. For the top 9 most watched games, yeah, that's America's team, folks. Speaking of America's team, do you want some awesome America's team gear? Well, we can hook you up with some t-shirts and some hats. DM me on Twitter if you want the details at WhatGoingDowney. We get hooked up with one of our sponsors. They'll provide the t-shirt and hat. And then once we get to 20 of you guys who sign up for the shirt and hat, we'll send one of you lucky winners some Cowboys tickets. So again, DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney if you want those details. All right, deep breath here for this one. How about a Le'Veon Bell trade? Could that happen? Absolutely not. Fake news. Fansided once again coming up in the clutch with a terrible, terrible idea and rumor here. The Steelers are shopping Bell in trade talks. That much we know. Now, Fansided claims that it makes sense to bring in Lev Bell and add him with Zeke Elliott because the Saints do it with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Why can't the Cowboys do it, right? It actually makes very little sense. And in fact, I'm going to change this not to fake news. This is the fakest news. Yes, the Cowboys do need more guys around Dak, more players that can be dynamic. The Saints limit Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram's touches. Why would you do that with Zeke or Bell? They are both true workhorse backs. They're going to eat into each other's touches. And oh, by the way, you can't afford Lev Bell long term. The worst possible roster construction you could ever do is have 2 of the highest paid halfbacks in the NFL. And why would you give up a second-round pick for a rental? By the way, their trade package was a second-rounder and Terrance Williams. Why would either team do that? It doesn't make any sense. The Cowboys, yeah, you get rid of T-Will. Why are you trading a second-round pick for a half-year rental of Lev Bell? That doesn't make sense for Dallas at all because you can't afford to re-sign him long-term. And if you're the Steelers, why would you want T-Will? He's not very good right now. And oh, by the way, they have James Washington, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Antonio Brown. Why would you want another 4th receiver who's going to get, 2 catches a game? Doesn't make sense at all. This one is absolutely fake news. Lev Bell is not coming to the Dallas Cowboys, folks.